Hey, welcome to Unit 3, everybody. We are going to start right away here with graphing quadratic functions. Please do not be intimidated by the big old chart at the top of your page here. It's actually a very useful kind of help sheet for when you're dealing with the different forms, which will be really easy to tell the difference. Two sets of parentheses, one set of parentheses, no parentheses, okay? As we're starting to do some of these things. So I won't get real in depth into the whole list because as we do each part, we'll come back and we'll take a look at it. Okay, but it's kind of cool. We even got the tech hints on there. So make sure, again, if you don't have a calculator of your own, that you've downloaded, okay, the emulator from the website. And I'm going to show this one more time here as we're doing this, just to make sure, okay, if you're on Mr. Hardy's stream, you are going all the way down. Oh, yeah, all the things, all the way through to the bottom with the library. Okay, when you get to the library, we're going all the way down, almost to the end. There's the emulator for Chromebooks. Here's the one for Windows and Mac machines, okay? And you can download it there. Same calculator we have here. And like I said before, my other favorites, if you're on the phone with these, is Calculate 84. Not calculator, just Calculate 84 for iPhone, iOS, and Wabbit Emu, WABBIT-EMU on Android. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled programming. So once you get to here, we're just going to go ahead. We're going to roll down to the bottom so we can get started. So standard form, that's where we're starting, in the first column on your help portion there. So y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, and the axis of symmetry, we're going to add a little something to this, which is exactly the same as the x value of your vertex is found by using this little formula. Now, you notice we have b, we have a in there. So I normally like to label my a and b values when I'm doing this, just to make sure I don't get anything mixed up. And so when I go to find my axis of symmetry, okay, it's the opposite of b. The opposite of -4 is +4 over 2 times a, 2 times 2. 2 times 2, last I checked, is 4. Okay, so my x value is 1. That is my axis of symmetry, x equals 1. It's a vertical line that goes through the middle of my graph. And we'll see that when we graph it. Now, for my vertex, we said, once I found that x, that also was going to tell me the x value of my vertex. But how do I find y? To the chart we go. Okay, we already found the x value by using the x equals equation. So now step 2. Substitute that value into the function, into the y equals, to find the y value. Okay, so I'll come back down here. Y equals 2, and every place I see an x, I'm going to replace it with a 1. Now, you can put this directly into your calculator. You can try to do it yourself. If you do it yourself, be careful. You do 1 squared, then multiply. Don't multiply and then square. We still got to follow order of operations. So here, that would be 1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2, minus 4 plus 3. 5 minus 4 is 1. 1, 1. So I've got my vertex. I can plot that point. Okay, so you're like, okay, well, now what? You know what I'm going to do. Back to the chart. Using your vertex as the point of symmetry, plot at least 2 additional points on each side to create the graph. Now, there are going to be multiple ways that we can do this as we go ahead. For now, since we're rookies at this, I would say the easiest way to go is going to be to go into our calculator, type in our expression. Okay, again, if this is kind of new, if you've missed some of the videos before, this is my x button. Okay, and then for squared, I can just hit the x squared, or I can use this little caret button to turn it into an exponent. They all work. So once I get it, I can take a look at the graph, and I notice the center point of my graph is right here, just like it is on mine here, just a little bit above the x-axis and a little bit to the right of the y-axis. But here's what I want you to take note of. Okay, find your vertex. So 1, 1. Now, I'm fortunate. It just ended up in the middle of my chart, which is where you want it. Because how do you know this is the vertex? We see symmetry, or the exact same values above and below it in the y column. That's how you know that you've done this correctly. So if you do a vertex sometime, you get that value and you're not seeing the same thing, something went wrong with your vertex somewhere. So you got to go back and recheck. But we're good here. So we're going to plot 0, 3, okay, 2, 3, negative 1, 9, and 3, 9. Again, we're looking for a curve as best we can. We don't want V-shapes. This is an absolute value. Okay, this is a quadratic, so try and get a curve, and you're good. Okay? Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Now, we'll figure out some other ways we can do this as we go along, but that's probably going to be the easiest most of the time for us. Okay, next one. Big issue before we get started on anything. Whenever you see fractions, I want you to immediately put them in parentheses because the calculator doesn't like it if you don't. You're going to get something totally different looking. So just something to be aware of. So now that we got that taken care of, I can write down my A. What number is in front of X when I don't see a number? Hopefully I'm not hearing a lot of zeros out there. 1, okay? So my axis is symmetry. The opposite of B, negative 1 over 2 times negative 1/2. Now, this is one of those danger points we can get into if we get addicted to the calculator. Here's what I mean. So check this out. Negative 1, again, negative minus, they're different on the calculator. Calculator can be picky. Divided by 2 times negative 1/2. Oh, help them on the screen. That is not the right answer. You're like, what do you mean? I typed it all in. Let's think about this for a minute. Come back over here. What's half of 2? 1, right? And since it's negative 1/2, it'd be negative 1 divided by negative 1 is 1. Well, what happened? You know, did the calculator, is it malfunctioning? No. This is why when you're doing it with an axis, I would suggest, because the calculator did negative 1 divided by 2 and then multiplied it. Well, that's not what we wanted. So if you need to clean up something because there's a fraction, just type that part into the calculator and then just write it out like this. It's going to save you a lot of headaches. Now, if you don't see it here, you'll end up seeing it when you get to your chart anyway. So my vertex is 1. You ready? You ready for a cheat? Yeah, on the second problem, I'm already going to give you a cheat. Yes, I can plug that back in, but maybe I don't want to deal with the fractions. Here's my other way around it. Check this out. So negative 1/2 in parentheses. Okay, so we're going to graph it. Now notice something. It's opening down this time. Why? Because the number in front of my x squared is negative. That's a trick we're going to learn. It tells us what direction. If it's positive, if my A is positive, it opens up. If my A is negative, it opens down. So here's the trick. Notice I know my x value is 1. So make sure your x value 1 is in the middle. First, before you write down the other number for your vertex, do you see symmetry? Do you see the same numbers above and below? I do. 4.5, or maybe 9/2 if you did it the other way on the calculator and hit math, enter. Either is fine to me. I probably would go with the decimal on graphing just because it's much easier to think about 4.5. So I go to 1, and then in between 4 and 5. And now that I see the symmetry, I can just use my calculator to get the rest of my points. So 0, 4, 2, 4, negative 1, 2.5, 3, 2.5. And again, 5 is the minimum we want to do if at all possible. But if you can't fit them on sometime, that's okay. If you want to plot more, 4, 0, -2, 0, you can plot as many as you want. Get my curve in there. Okay? So 2 ways to be able to get that y value of the vertex. I always want to make sure I see symmetry, but you can either plug the x value in, or if you're confident, you can find your x value, and if it's in the middle of your chart, you can see if the symmetry is there or not. Just some options. All right. Checking out more things here. Vertex form, probably my personal favorite. Okay? Because I don't have to do anything to find the vertex. The vertex is at HK, and the axis of symmetry is just my H value. Now here's what you need to remember though, and I always mention this, and I probably should get it where I'm on the screen. Opposite of H, that's what this says. So when you're going to write your axis of symmetry, you want to take this value, but it's not -4, it's the opposite of -4, which is 4. Okay? And then my vertex is going to be 4HK. This value, that is the value I want to take, because plus K means whatever this value is, use it. 4, 3. Let's see if we're right. Kind of see why I like these a little bit. I'm like, I can just steal my information right off of there and not even really have to think about it. So let's do our chart. Okay, I need 4 in the middle. X equals 4 in the middle. 4, 3. Symmetry, symmetry. Now, let's say, for instance, you'd forgotten about the opposite thing, and you put -4. What would have happened then, hopefully, is when you scrolled and got -4 in the middle and noticed, whoa, that number is big and there's no symmetry, that, wait, something's wrong here. And then you'd have come back to your senses and you'd have been like, oh yeah, it's +4. So 4, 3. And then again, just get some of the other points in. 3, 4, 5, 4, 6, 7, 2, 7. Ready to roll. Okay? So not too bad of a deal. So one more here. All right. Give me the quick pause here for a second, because I want you to try and figure out the axis of symmetry and the vertex on your own before you have me just do it for you, so we can kind of see how we're doing with this. So hit pause, and we'll be back in a minute. All right, hopefully when you unpause me, this is what you see on your paper as well. The opposite of H, the opposite of +3 is -3. It's my X value for my axis of symmetry and in my vertex. And then we just keep plus K. So -3, 7. Hey, before I put this in my calculator, is this parabola going to open up or down? Hopefully, if you did it before you actually plugged it in, you said down, because my A value is negative. Okay, the value in front of my x squared, or in this case in front of the parentheses, is going to determine if we're opening up or down. So I look at my graph, down just like we thought it would be. Okay, we need -3 in the middle. Symmetry, just the way we like to see it. So -4, 5, -2, 5, -1, -1, -5, -1, little curve, and we're in business. Nice. Okay. So nothing too bad so far. Between the technology and what we're doing, we're going pretty good. So the last type is called intercept form. Now, this is a type that's a little different. We're only going to be using 3 points most of the time with this. You'll see why here momentarily. Sometimes we can get all 5. But what we're going to do is we're going to find for our x-intercepts, okay? Where it crosses the x-axis. And the form is going to give us those two values. And then we find our axis of symmetry, our x value of our vertex, by using those intercepts. So here's how this works. So I'll look at this. Now notice again, opposite of P, opposite of Q. The values that you see in here, the x-intercepts are the opposite. So opposite of positive 3 is negative 3. Since it's an x-intercept, my y is 0 because it's on the x-axis. Opposite of negative 5 is positive 5. Okay? I can plot those on here. So then when I look for my axis of symmetry, okay, I'm going to take these two values. Okay? This is my P. This is my Q. I'm going to add them up. Negative 3 plus 5. And this is that calculator issue like we talked about on the other side. We need to either do negative 3 plus 5 on its own and then divide by 2 because, again, if you do negative 3 plus 5 divided by 2, the calculator is going to do division first because it's following order of operations. That's not what we want. You probably can do this one. Oh, my. You probably could do this one in your head. But again, if we want to play it safe, x equals 1 would be my axis of symmetry. So my vertex is at 1. And again, to be honest, do I really need to put this in the calculator? 1 plus 3 is, so for my y, it'd be 1 plus 3, 1 minus 5. 4, negative 4, y equals negative 16. Now, if you're not sure about that, and maybe you aren't, okay, we go plug it in. I mean, the calculator is always a nice tool kind of to have. So if I pull my chart, my vertex, I got to get 1 in the middle. Okay, I see my symmetry. And here's what I also see. Negative 3, 0, 5, 0. I got my points. Now, if you want to put more points in, you can. It's not wrong if you do. Oh, Hardy. Now, it is wrong if you put your... Oh, well, you couldn't see it for a minute. I could have scammed you on that one and said, no, it's not. It doesn't help if you don't put your vertex in the right place. So see, this is the other reason as a math teacher, I should be using pencil right now. It is okay if you are laughing right now and going, oh, Hardy. It happens. See, it happens to me too. Okay, not my prettiest graph ever, but we get the point across. I'm needing to be careful. Negative 1, 1, yeah, we'll get it right. Okay, one more try, one more shot. And then we're going to go back and look at the chart on the front, which notice we haven't even been having to use. And we'll see if there's any other good info on there, and then we'll kind of keep going from there. Okay, x-intercepts. What are they? Opposite of negative 3, opposite of positive 1. So 3, 0. Now I'm a little gun shy. I want to make sure I get my dots in the right place after my lovely error last time. So again, here's P, here's Q. You can put 3 plus negative 1. Otherwise, you could just put 3 minus 1. I mean, it's what it is. So 3 minus 1 is 2 over 2 is 1. X equals 1 is my axis. Now again, you have options here. If you want to do it mental math, you can do mental math on this. If you're like, no, I just want to plug it in and replace the x's with my 1s, that's fine. Probably want to get where I can get an answer. Okay, negative 8. Do I want to make sure I did it right? Okay. I mean, if you're confident and you're just taking your time with your math, I don't think you need to be plugging these in on the calculator, but if that gives you a sense of security, Go for it. Okay, 1's in the middle already. Symmetry, symmetry. 3, 0, negative 1, 0. We are in business. Okay. So let's make sure that we didn't miss anything here on the front. Use the calculator's table to find the vertex. Look for symmetry, especially if we know the x value. Just go to the x value and we can see. Plot the points surrounding on vertex form. Yeah, we did that. Sometimes if you want to, and this isn't a bad idea either, sometimes you can find zeros on your calculator's table if you look for where y equals 0. So like that last one that we'd done. If I wasn't comfortable with the answers I was looking at, if you just find where y equals 0, and you'll find a couple of them, the x values are your your x-intercepts. X-intercepts when you're doing that. But again, if you ever get confused or going back later, let the chart help you. Let your examples help you. Have these out when you're doing the summatives. Keep life simple. Okay. Now, I actually want to jump in. I want to do one more of these with you because in the practice, we have a little bit of a discussion on something we didn't discuss in the notes. It's going to happen sometimes. I know. So what I'm even going to do is we're going to jump down to number 3 because you're going to steal one of the easy forms from us? No, I'm not. We'll do number 3. So reminder, when we're doing number 3, I'm going to try and watch this cool move. This is what happens when you get to have 2 sets of packets here. Okay, first thing. Find the x value of the vertex. There's my A. There's my B. By doing the opposite of B, the opposite of 16 is negative 16 over 2 times A. Negative 16, 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. The x value is 4. Now at this point, I can plug the 4 back in for the x in these 2 places. Let the calculator do its thing. Or, we've learned, negative, not minus 2x squared, 16x minus 36. Okay. If I've done this right, okay, I'm looking for the x value of 4 in the middle. Now, before you write down that as your vertex, look, do you have symmetry? If the answer is yes, you are now safe to mark in your vertex. And you are also safe at this point. So we've got the vertex, we've got the axis of symmetry. I'm also safe to go ahead and get my other points in. But you'll notice if you read the directions up above, there's a little extra. It says identify the vertex. We did. Identify the axis of symmetry. We did. Graph accurately using at least 3 points. We did. Also determine the domain and range. Now, this is a little different of a part. So let's remind ourselves quick here what each of these things are. Domain is my x values from left to right. But I notice there's arrows involved here. When you sketch this parabola, okay, that's what our curve is called, a parabola. These arrows keep extending outward as they're going downward. So the curve, as it goes down, is continuing to widen. So what does that mean? That means with any parabola, your domain is infinite. Whether it opens down, whether it opens up, it's going to keep increasing in size both to the left and to the right as it increases. Now, our range, on the other hand, a little different. Remember, this is from bottom to top. So when I see bottom, these arrows tell me down, 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 forever, which is negative infinity. If you had a parabola opening upward, that goes up, 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 up forever. So that would be a positive infinity. So I have to watch for that. But then the top is this point right here. And what's the y value at this point? Negative 4. So if it opens down, we start with negative infinity. If it opens up, we'll start with the number and go to positive infinity. Now again, you've got the key, whether you physically have the key or you have the key available to check answers on the site. Do the practice. You get a couple of each type in here, okay? Use the help sheet if you need to. Check your answers, because when we get to this quiz a little later in the week, then you're going to be ready and raring to go. And we will see you